Hello everyone, and Happy New Year again, whose rhythm this time determines the movement of the Sun. Namely, on March the 20th, the Sun moves from the southern to the northern hemisphere, and thus spring begins in the northern part of our planet, where the largest number of people live actually. Astrology as we know it was made for the northern part of the globe, and that is why tropical astrology makes a lot of sense to us, regardless of the fact that other systems that read signs on the sky also make sense. Many wars and bombings begin around the equinox or at the end of March, because those who design battles and wars know very well that this is the time when the energy of Mars and the Sun are in full swing. Mars, the ruler of Aries, represents both wars and flourishing of vegetation, as well as triumphant victories. However, this year, March is by no means the time to start wars. It is even the time to end them. Let's see the lunar activity this month. On the 14th is the full moon in Virgo, which is also a total lunar eclipse happening on the 23rd degree of Virgo. On the 29th of March is the new moon in Aries, which is also a partial solar eclipse that is happening on the 9th degree of Aries. Then Sun is until the 20th in Pisces, after that in Aries. Mercury most of the month in Aries, from the 15th is retrograde. Venus in Aries until the 22nd, after in Pisces. Mars is in the sign of Crab, or to say Cancer. Jupiter is in Gemini, Saturn in Pisces, Uranus in Taurus, Neptune in Pisces, and Pluto in Aquarius. So as you see, all big planets are direct, which is important. Sorry. In the second half of the month, there are solar and lunar eclipses, which is a period of the year when there is quite a lot of confusion, always around eclipses. These 2 weeks. Mythological way of thinking describes these events as the dragon in the sky, which creates the darkness. And this puts people on the planet in a very powerless situation, because they feel that there are some immeasurable forces that rule them and with whom it is difficult to communicate. In ancient cultures, eclipses were known to turn everything upside down, and this creates a sense of uncertainty. It is clear that it will reverse also now, just we don't know how. But at the same time, we also see that all the major planets are direct, which means it's time for action. So it's time for something completely new to happen, and there is going to appear a new pattern. However, the question arises how this dynamic energy of the planets to combine with the time of the eclipses. So the answer is, well, we don't know how. It will be very chaotic. So in March, everything is possible. This is very, very important period now in the year, and we will see. Let's just see what is coming. It's quite confusing. There are great protests now in Serbia and Romania. Most probably you heard about that, and I guess that is going to happen the downfall of Serbian president and the government, and this is going to be important event for the whole Europe. But let's wait to see. I guess that it's not just the case that just like that in Serbia starts always some big revolutions. I think that all nations in the world have something some way of behaving that is given to them by those who were on the top of the pyramid, and they were always using them for certain purposes because they know that these nations have certain prepositions. So, like Serbs are there to make revolutions. That was maybe in the past also, and now, for example, I'm in Thailand, and unfortunately, I see that this place is a place for the like enjoying sexual pleasures of all kind, which these people here got because of certain predispositions, I guess, that they have, which is maybe for somebody good, but for somebody is also bad. And it's like that, you know, some other nations are there to make wine, some are there to make new modern technology, and so on and so on. I think this revolution in Serbia is going to be huge for Europe, but we will see. In March, Mars is still in the sign of Crab, which is Cancer, and it's very weak. But it's flammable, unfortunately. So domestic conflicts are possible everywhere. The ruler of this Mars is the Moon, and Moon is in mundane astrology. Moon symbolizes people. So we can say, yes, it's a little bit dangerous time for people. And it's a big question how to use this energy in a positive way. And the answer is, we need to learn how to protect everyone. So the way how to use this Mars in the sign of Crab is mutual protection. Everybody protects everybody. And then this Mars gives good results. Mercury is in Aries for most of the month, and it's retrograde from the 15th. And this is the time of the first eclipse. It is happening on the 14th. So now the beginning of spring, so the vernal equinox, to say it in another way, is happening on the 20th of March, and it's between two eclipses. We clearly see that something is happening in the second half of the month that is very confusing. Retrograde Mercury is not that important, but now in combination with eclipses, it is. In the time between two eclipses, which is now between the 14th and the 29th, we decode ourselves, so to speak. A lot of happens unconsciously. And we need to be a little bit alone now in the second half of March to allow unconscious material that we have in us to appear. If we cannot work with it, it doesn't matter. We can do it later in April, May, and so. Now is just enough to let it come out. All the eclipses that now will appear on the Virgo-Pisces axis from September 2024 until early spring 2027 have similar motif, even if they're all different. The main motive is the end of something. It is now carrying this very strong feeling of ending. We are going through the last phase of confusion and manipulation, the last phase of false healing, false protection of nature, false climate change, and everything that lasts at least 30 years, but we can speak about bigger cycle of 60 years, because actually they start doing this intensively in the time of the conjunction of Uranus and Pluto in Virgo in the 60s, middle 60s. So now this is a very significant period for the world because we see the end of one civilizational model, and we see that what was implanted in the 60s now is not going to give any more results as they expected. It gave some results, I guess, but it is the time to end it. On a personal level, it is very important to get rid of all the bad habits now, of smoking, alcohol, drugs, medicines, everything that people were like consuming too much, not in a normal dose. And this is especially true for Virgos, then also for Pisces, and then for everybody else. It is excellent time also to lose weight, to start exercising, and to start some new body program. This is all the time with these eclipses. This Virgo-Pisces horoscope axis is associated with healing. And true healing is through psychosomatics or through holistic approach. There is no any other proper approach to human body and health. And in the past, people were healing in temples, as you know. Those who are connected with the god, they were healers actually. And I was in Sri Lanka 2 weeks ago, and there I heard that the doctors today learn their practice, especially acupuncture, in the temples. I asked them if they learn in China. They said no, there is a temple in Sri Lanka near Bentota, and the doctor that I was with, he said that his colleague said that they were learning in the temple. Even today we can be treated intuitively. Many people cure themselves intuitively. This is also about axis of Virgo Pisces. But in today's time, this axis is also the axis of IT technology. So the modern medicine that is using vibrations can also be connected with this axis, even though it's not enough. This axis is not enough for such modern medicine. There must be influence of Aquarius, of Uranus, and then we can speak about vibrations and this modern medicine that is about impulses, and it works simply through modern technology. There are, of course, other methods of healing, like Nikola Tesla had, who was working with etheric physics, or Wilhelm Reich, who was using orgone energy, and so on. So if we are lucky enough, all of those new methods of healing can now appear more and more with those eclipses on the Pisces-Virgo axis. Eclipses are also connected with the end of the transit of Saturn and Neptune through the sign of Pisces. This is now why March is important, because in few months they will move out of Pisces for a while. And many will feel that they no longer have a reason to keep on going their old patterns of behaving, whether these patterns are karmic or some other, because people will feel now that they went through some sort of purification. So many things that were terribly important before will not be that important. It's not a very good sign that we have eclipse near the vernal equinox. But what can we do? Sometimes this happens. However, no one prevents us from celebrating the equinox in the old way, which means with dance and poetry celebrating the sun. On the day of the equinox, the sun rises exactly in the east, and the day and night last exactly 12 hours. Ancient cultures were very precisely measuring the place of the sunrise on the vernal equinox. They placed stelas there, huge stones, as you know, or they turned the doors of the temple in facing this place where vernal equinox happened, because actually they were interested in the constellation that was projecting behind, on the sky behind the sun, because this was connected with the precession, with the move of the precession. And we know now that we are now going from the era of Pisces to era of Aquarius, because the place of the precession is changing. And this is why this Aquarian energy is becoming now stronger and stronger. The 14th is therefore the full moon in Virgo, which is that total lunar eclipse. It will be quite strong and will mostly affect Virgos and Pisces of the second and third decade. On the day of the eclipse, the moon is in opposition to the Sun and Saturn and Neptune. Neptune is very close by. So this is that karmic, combination, or combination that it's not possible to ignore, which brings a lot of things to work with. Which means basically that what we sow, that we will reap. But everything depends on the level of consciousness we are. For somebody it can be hard, for somebody not that hard. However, Neptune will soften this combination of planets, and it will in a way spread everything across the universe, So all that is now happening will be much easier with this Neptune than if the Neptune would not be there. And definitely we are moving also to some new era when we will not live through these karmic experiences that way as now. The 29th is the new moon in Aries, which is that partial solar eclipse, which will affect Aries and Libra of the third decade the most. This eclipse is less intense. The ruler of the eclipse is in a weak position, but has interesting aspects to the planet in Pisces, which indicates that one phase is ending. Still we have something ending all the time this month. Endings. So Libras and Aries need to surrender in a way, you know, and let the universe or God to finish the job. What is happening now, we cannot so much describe as a flood, even if you have many planets in Pisces. Maybe you will remember that I spoke about the spiritual flood that we are going through in my videos in the last years, videos about Neptune, usually Pisces and so. You can still find them on the internet, of course. Well, now we are in the phase when the flood is ending, and we need to go out from the deep waters to the surface. And this actually applies for the whole year 2025 and 26. Only March in the 25 especially reminds us of this process because there are so many things happening in Pisces. So I marked the second half of March itself as a period of ritual inaction. We should ritually stop our actions. It means that. This non-action term I borrowed from Mircea Eliade, as Eliade was a genius of mythological way of thinking. He described in his book that there was a phase before the end of one period when nothing can be done anymore and when people ritually stop all their activities waiting for the arrival of new time, new age, something new. For us, this will even happen again in September and in February, March next year. So we have now huge dynamic happening because all big planets are direct. And at the same time, we need to empty everything in this, because of this pattern that is coming now, this ritual inaction, where we allow God or universe to decode what we did before and to end something. So how to connect those two things, it's very hard to imagine. And this works on collective and individual level as well. On a collective level, we also see the depth of the collapse of Western civilization, which presented itself as a merciful, democratic, human, and so on. And finally, we now see very clearly that they were always only colonizers, that they support always genocides, that they do not respect international law, that they do not respect United Nations, nothing of this, you know. And they actually support killers, murderers, butchers, now I mean, of course, of the government in Syria, prime minister in Israel, and so on. And fortunately, now all this is slowly coming to the end. Let's only hope that we will really finish this process as a humanity. And finally, let's say more concretely few important dates in March. I'm recording this video on the 8th of March, unfortunately I'm late. But let me say that on the 2nd of March was a very confusing day. Hope you did not start anything new that day. But the 8th of March is interesting because we have sextile of Pluto and Mercury, which is already in Aries. And at the same time, we have the Sun in trine with Mars in the water signs. We can expect some triumph, good day, indeed, especially important for Aries, who are brave and who want to achieve something. On March 11th, Mercury is in conjunction with Venus in Aries, which is a significant hint of spring. You know, this is now big symbol of spring. With this conjunction, new ideas are launched, and always when a planet has a conjunction with the Sun, it begins its 1 year cycle, you know. So many planets will be conjunct with the Sun in Pisces, which is the sign of the end now in March. But we have Venus and Mercury that are in Aries making conjunction with the Sun, and they symbolize this new beginning, something very fresh, like a spring it is. And this Venus is important and Mercury for Gemini, Libras, and Taurus people. While Piscean people still have to wait a little bit. Maybe Capricorns also, a whole year, you know, it's more about the end than about the beginning. From March 12 to 12 to 19, the Sun will be in conjunction now, I'm saying that, in Saturn, with North Node, and with Neptune in Pisces. And this is that feeling of the end. This is that strong archetype of Pisces, which will last whole year. We definitely see that the power, the tower of power is collapsing in the world, and it's more and more visible, but it's still for us maybe going slow, because we are kind of hungry for something new. The end of the month, when we have some conjunctions on the 27th and 29th, also remind us of the end of old patterns, but they are at the same time very good for artistic work. For artistic creations can be very inspirative and very healing even, if people devote time and energies to such things at the end of March. And that is all for now. You can contact me if you're interested to have consultations based on astrology. I do actually astropsychology, spiritual astrology, but also if you're interested in my method, which has the name, the change of code, the change of perception, which helps you to work with inner patterns. Then I also have consultations based on Feng Shui. If you like the video, like it, sign up to my channel, and thank you very, very much in advance. I wish you luck in March, and I wish you to be a little patient. Just wait a little bit to see what will come after the end of March.